If you had told me years ago that one day I would be sitting on a farm, sitting here with all these feather babies, talking to all of them and calling myself Big Mama and building a media company named after a rooster, I probably would have thought you were out of your mind because none of this was part of my plan. Actually, when I really think about it, almost nothing about my life looks exactly the way I thought it would be. And for a long time, I thought that meant I had somehow gotten off track, especially in the last 5 years. Hi, I'm La, and welcome to the Accidental Chicken Whisperer. All I want to say is I didn't plan on becoming this crazy chicken lady, but yet here I am. And I'm starting to realize that some of the best things in my life were actually never part of the plan. And I have a feeling that I'm not the only one as well. There comes a point when a lot of us look around at the life that we have and compare it to the life we thought we are going to have. And somehow that little voice starts talking. Shouldn't you be further along by now? I've been doing that a lot lately in the last several years. And I'm sure some of you know that voice, the one that somehow knows everything you should have done up until this moment in time. Where you could have been, what you would have accomplished if you had just made all the right decisions and stayed on the course. All of those should have, would have, could have. My guineas have an opinion about that too, as you can tell. They have an opinion, and that voice has a lot of opinions. I don't know who's right. Maybe the guineas. All I can say is that make sure that voice doesn't start answering back when you argue with her, okay? Truth is that I know that voice very well. Sadly, or I don't know, once upon a time, I was a 5-year, plan kind of girl. I liked knowing where I was going, right? I had this goal, this next job, this next thing that I was going to spend the next 5 years getting to, whatever that accomplishment is. Something tangible I could point to and say, all right, La, okay, this is exactly where we are headed, girlfriend. And when we get there, this is what success looks like. This is where I'm supposed to end up. And honestly, there is still a part of me that would love for somebody to hand me this neat little roadmap and say, here you go, La. Follow this to the T and everything will work out for you. Boy, wouldn't that be convenient, right? But life does not seem especially interested in our roadmaps. At least mine hasn't been. 10 years ago, I moved to Oregon. And somewhere along the way, that straight line disappeared. In so many ways, I have changed. I started over. I built things literally with my hands, blood, sweat, and tears, especially with my food business and my food cart. And some things worked and some just didn't. But a lot of it, I have to say, it feels like I'm just still this work in progress. And at 50, I would be lying if I said I never looked around and think, shouldn't I have this whole darn thing figured out by now? Like, seriously. Shouldn't there be more certainty in my life? What happened to starting a business and just making buku load of money? I thought I was going to actually have more freedom. That's a lie. Should I know exactly what all of this is becoming? So I've started asking a different kind of question. Further along, according to whom? Who? Who is that person, that thing, that person, I don't know, maybe from childhood, who wrote this imaginary timeline so many of us keep measuring ourselves against it? Because when we actually look backward, life rarely moves in this clean, sequential line that we imagined it to be when we were younger. You know, people show up, sometimes things end, we change direction. We sometimes stumble into work that we have never planned and found the greatest joy. We fall in love with places we never expected to live. Me here in the Pacific Northwest, I love it now. We become people our younger selves would even barely recognize. And sometimes the things that seemed completely random at the time become some of the most important parts of our lives, which obviously brings me to my feather brats, specifically my chickens. It started with them. My spoiled feather brats. This may still be one of the biggest jokes the universe has ever played on me. Everybody still laughs at me. Who would have thought? I never have set out to become this crazy chicken lady, but here I am. And all I owe it to an elderly rooster named Duke, who showed up during a difficult season of my life and it became a part of how I now define myself. I certainly never imagined I would eventually have an entire flock and call myself Big Mama and build it, like I said, an entire media and company after my late rooster, Kofifi, who was my buddy for 6 years. I mean, come on. But here I am, killing it. But here we are. And of all the identities that I have deliberately tried to create over the years, the accidental chicken whisperer is probably the one that feels the most honest for me. Not because I have some magical chicken whispering power. Gosh, I wish I did. I could save every single one of them from whatever ailments. Believe me, I still have to Google many things because reality is I didn't grow up with this stuff. And not because my entire life revolves around chickens, although it might look like that, but it doesn't. It's just that the name itself feels very honest because it reminds me that we do not always recognize the important parts of our lives when they first arrive. Sometimes something just shows up unexpectedly, accidentally. Maybe it's a person, a place, a job, or an animal. In my case, chickens. Maybe for you, some fur babies, cats, dogs, birds, I don't know. Or an opportunity, a completely unexpected turn. The guineas agree. And at first, it does not look significant at all. Then years later, you look back and you realize those moments, those unexpected stuff, it changed. It changed who you are. Because I know it changed me. And now it's become a part of who you are. And this is where I start thinking the 5 year plan voice, it gets into trouble. Because that voice constantly wants everything to move in this straight line. It starts questioning me. Did you get there? Did you accomplish the thing that you set out to do? Are you ahead? And why are you behind? And did you also make the right choice? Did you waste your time? But life cannot always be measured by whether we reach the destination we originally picked. Sometimes the more interesting question is, what did the unplanned parts give us? There's a memory that I keep thinking back to, and it's been coming up a lot lately. I must have been about maybe 16. It was of me, I don't know, somehow just wearing this white flowy dress. The wind was blowing. And at that time, I just knew in my heart that I was going to be a writer, and I was writing. All right. There weren't any laptops. It was me and some kind of electronic typewriter. That was the sign of the time. That's all I got to say. It didn't feel dramatic. It just felt right. I didn't know what I was writing. I didn't know what the job was. Heck, I wasn't even thinking about how I was going to pay the bills. Apparently, teenage Lau was not concerned with those practical details. Lucky her, right? God, to be 16 and not worry about bills. Good old time, the good old days. But I remember the feeling. And that was the feeling that I was going to be a writer, that I am a writer and I'm creating something, I'm putting my thoughts to paper. And it felt right. And that part It mattered. And now, more than 30 years later, I think about that girl, that time. The details did not happen the way that I imagined it, not even close. But I'm starting to think that the details perhaps was never the point. There has been a thread running underneath a lot of my life that I couldn't always see because I was too busy trying to name this destination or adulting, right? I have always wanted to create. Uh, I feel like I'm a creator, I'm a creative person. I wanted to build something, and I am doing that with my food cart. Whatever is the form, it kept changing, from the work to putting my food out there for the world to now trying to write and creating content for my YouTube channel, this video that I'm creating right now. And of course, apparently, all of my feather babies too. A life that looks like it wander all over the place. It may not actually be as random as it feels while I'm living in it. I'm thinking that sometimes we're simply looking for a straight line in a life that was never going to be one. And I think maybe that's the ultimate lie that we tell ourselves, right? Now, I do not want to turn this into one of those nice, tidy stories where every detour happens for a reason and everything eventually works out beautiful. Gosh, I wish it did, but it doesn't. There's been so many twists and turns in life. So I don't believe in this life having this straight path, even when we have a plan. It never works out. I just know that some things hurt, some things just absolutely makes no sense. Some things that were right for us once upon a time, it just stopped being right. There are chapters that ended badly, losses, and sometimes we make decisions that we wish we could change. That is all part of life. But every unexpected turn does not automatically deserve to be called a mistake. And I think that distinction matters a lot because a lot of us spend years letting the life that we could have had just the life we actually are having at this very moment. Like I said, I've been doing that a lot lately and I'm trying to check myself. The career that I could have had, the money I should have made, the places that I should have been by now. And don't get me wrong, I've been to many fabulous places. But the choices I would have made differently if I had known than what I also know now. There is, I believe, an imaginary version of our lives sitting somewhere in the background. And sometimes I feel like we give that imaginary life a little bit too much authority. Meanwhile, we forget that there is an actual life sitting right here. Me sitting right here. It's my life. A life that may not look the way how we planned it. And sometimes it may still feel a little bit unfinished. It's very messy, hot, the sun hitting me right now. Sometimes complicated, full of things we want, full of things we still have not figured out. But that does not make it any less real. And it does not automatically mean that we are behind. Heck, I've been thinking that I'm exactly where I should be. And where I'm at right now, I'm still building this life. I'm still creating. I'm still trying to understand perhaps what freedom looks like for me in this chapter of my life. And I get to decide. But most importantly, I still have things I want to do. Things that I'm trying to figure out. And still, I don't know exactly where all of this is going because I don't have that 5-year plan anymore. But uncertainty has started to feel less like proof that I failed to follow this plan, this 5-year person that I used to be. Right now, it just feels like life. And I'm becoming less interested in fighting with the person that I thought I was supposed to be. She can come along. She's here. She can come along and she can have an opinions. But I'm trying to hush her up a lot more. She just doesn't, I don't want her to drive many things in my life anymore. So I want you to think about your own life, not the life that you planned, not the one that actually happened. What found you along the way? Perhaps a person you never expected to meet, a friendship, a relationship, I don't know, or work you stumbled into, a place that you never expected to call home. Or maybe it's some ridiculous animal that just showed up and you just became this, you know, uh, dog mom, parent, whatever it is. So, what became part of you that was never written into the original plan? And what changes when we stop treating those things as evidence that we wandered off course? And we start giving them credit for helping build the people and the person that we've become. I don't think the accidental life is something we needed to fix. I think that we need to just stay present with it, just notice it, look at the things that surprise us, maybe things that have changed us, and the reason why we're staying. Even the things that taught us when it was time to leave. Because perhaps the question was never whether we followed the plan perfectly. The better question is, what did the life we actually lived give us? So, considering that I'm sitting here talking to all my feather babies, and I'm calling myself Big Mama, and building a media company named after my beloved late rooster, I have a feeling that question is going to keep me busy for a while. And the 5 year plan, it can sit in the passenger seat for a bit.